Hi, my name is Jason Birmingham, and tonight, doing session 2, um, I'm going to respond to this. Reflecting on the reading of Wright and Lyons, what do you find confusing, inspiring, and or challenging, and why? Which, if any of your assumptions, have been challenged? Okay, so a lot to unpack in this one because this is some pretty great course material, but I'll start with a quote by Lyons. He says, referring to the next Christians, that they no longer feel bound to wait for heaven or spend all of their time telling people what they should believe. Instead, they are participating with God in his restoration project for the whole world. And I actually find this concept to be, like, the concept of the next Christians to be really inspiring, right? This book is a total call to action. It's like, hey, wake up, like the culture is shifting from under your feet. You can keep doing things the way that you've been doing them for the past 50 to 100 years in the fundamentalist church, but that battle it's over. Like there's not going to be any reversion back, or there's not going to be any rewinds back to how things were. This is a brand new era, and there's so many different frontiers and opportunities to be able to share the love of Christ by being out there and engaging with the communities. I've had several, just a small handful of opportunities to be able to do that. I'm looking forward to a lifetime of having many more. I would say that a perfect example of this, especially within our current political landscape, is my pastor who prayed over a BLM protest. He did it in a very unbiased, nonpartisan way, and it was very God-honoring, and it honored the love of Christ. And I'm from a pretty conservative. I have a pretty conservative temperament and a pretty conservative stance. I guess politically, which sometimes I can place too much emotion within the craziness. I've since stopped looking at the news on my phone, but since I had that, I kind of had like this anger in my heart, and when I saw my pastor do that, because he has the same beliefs that I do, when I saw my pastor do that, that really put me to shame. Not in a bad way, in a good way. It was a great example to follow. So with my conservative viewpoint, you could say that I was a separatist. And I haven't grown up in the church or anything like that. And I don't necessarily just surround myself with all Christian activities or anything, but from my values, from my values, I kind of feel like a culture warrior. Some people champion climate change, some people champion animal rights. I champion fundamental values that I think are good for society. It's not just because of my belief in God, it's because I can see how these values actually play themselves out within a larger social structure and order. And I was doing an essay. Actually, so first, I will say that as a culture warrior, as that, I don't really have much compassion. When I was writing an essay on abstinence, I compared the sexual reproduction strategies of people on welfare to that of frogs and fish. And I did it in humor to make a point, but it was in bad taste, because these are people I shouldn't be poking fun at people in whose circumstance I don't entirely understand. It's easy to trash on people while you're trashing on ideas, and I think, and that's just not any good way to win hearts and minds, So, anyway, I would say, just for the sake of time for this video, I want to get into my next quote. This is from the other book by Wright. And he says, English evangelicals gave up believing in the urgent imperative to improve society about the same time that they gave up believing robustly in resurrection. It's just kind of like have like a note, because this is also pretty inspiring to me, that that like these books coincide with each other. And yeah, I mean, it's really cool to see that, because you have Wright who's saying that, like, all right, so along this timeline, here is where we stop believing in bodily resurrection, stop believing that's our responsibility to help bring restoration to the world, and we started believing in, hey, you say the words, your disembodied spirit floats up to heaven. And so that happened, and then you see like less Christian engagement. It starts to dwindle off. Perhaps it's a parabola. I'm not too sure. Yeah. So lost my train of thought there. Anyway, yeah. So the books are the same. So that's what you have, and then when you're looking at Lyon's book, he's talking about that area of lessening cultural engagement, and he describes it literally as a reduction a reduction of the entire Christian narrative, the entire Christian narrative. So now it's just about the fall and it's about redemption, which is like the focal point of literally of the disembodied spirit going to heaven. And I think it's really cool that Lyons has proposed to do something about that. And I'm excited to see what Wright proposes we do about that too, and then maybe amalgamate them together and get something nice. So super excited about this class. And yeah, signing off.